morning, podcast listeners. This is Ed Franklin with the Ed Franklin No Limits podcast, and this is Raising 10, episode 7. Today's topic is going to sound more motivational than parenting, but give me a minute and I'll show you how it's compared. The title of this podcast is The Power of Showing Up. Now, first of all, thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for liking my clips and watching my clips. Podcast is doing great. It's going to get even better in 2026. So I really appreciate you guys getting involved. The power of showing up. As we parent, our kids are watching us constantly, from little kids all the way up to when they become adults. And it's one of those parenting tactics that we're not even really sure we're doing, but they're watching us. And whether or not you think you're making an impact, you are making an impact. And it could be negative or positive impact. And I hope it's positive. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Um, we all, we all go through life with our kids, and they're watching us, how we treat people, how we talk to people, how we treat ourselves, how we treat them. And they're always constantly learning. And I can see in my kids as adults that we did a good job when it came to, the way we stepped up in the community, the way we did things, charitable, the way we worked, the way we led, the way we did all those things. And I can see that our kids have a lot of those really good traits in how they treat people. So recently, a lot of you know that I've been looking for that next leadership role in sales or whatever. And as we're getting close to the end of the year, of course, people aren't hiring as much. They're kind of planning for the next year. And as we're starting to close out this year, although I'm still applying for jobs, I took on a temporary job for the holidays. And what's happened with this job is it's kind of become a social experience at a social experiment at some level. So I went to work for Costco for the holiday season, which ends in about 2 weeks or so. When and so funny enough, when I first interviewed with them, they wanted me in a more of a forward-facing, customer-facing position because I'm used to that and I've done sales for a long time and things like that. But I've ended up pushing carts quite a bit of the time, which a lot of people end up doing that when they're doing seasonal work. And it's probably been the most physically challenging job I've ever had in my life. Not that I didn't have some hard jobs, but this is constant. So when you're doing, one stretch, I did 8-hour shifts in a row in 2 different weeks of just pushing carts and, putting in 20 to 30,000 steps a day and pushing these very heavy carts generally uphill. And it's been very physically challenging. Now, when I first started doing it, I'm thinking, I can't really do this. I'm pushing carts with 22-year-old kids, right? But I thank God I'm in good enough shape and things like that that I was able to step up and I got better at it. And the benefit of it, I'm down over 30 pounds since I started with them on 11/4, and I haven't really changed my eating habits. It's just the constant sweating and walking and all that. I mean, I'm walking like at times, maybe 10, 15 miles a day in their lot pushing carts. And the reason I said it was kind of turned into a social experiment is that uh, I'm dealing with the public, which I haven't really done on that in that high speed um, situation. And the public is very interesting to deal with on a regular basis. And for those of you that have ever worked retail or in a restaurant or something like that, you know that these jobs are not easy, and these kids sometimes, or adults like me, um, we deserve a little bit more respect, is what I'm getting at. It's a very difficult job for not a lot of money, but it pays more than the unemployment that I was getting. So, I found that um, I'm working at Costco in Poway, and so there's some cultural behavior that I think some of the customers just brought with them to America, or they were raised by people that were not, born here. And I'm trying to say this as gently as possible, but they they weren't raised the same as we were, um, as far as being polite to people. My mom worked retail for a long time. I worked retail 40 years ago. And I can remember working in and Costco is a very high speed organization. Like they're moving all the time. As soon as they open their doors, It's getting packed. We're moving carts. We're running out of carts. I do work inside sometimes and help assist with the cashiers, and that's very high speed. It's very people are very interesting when you're dealing with them um, in a retail situation. Now, the reason I bring that up is because my kids are still watching me, right? We're struggling this year financially, and I lost my job in April, and it's been hard to get back to work. The employment situation out there has changed a lot, and I'm not 25 years old anymore. But my kids are watching what's going on, and they know that even at my age, I'm still having to step up and do whatever I have to do to succeed and to survive. And I know a lot of you are doing the same things. I know a lot of parents out there that are single and or married, and they're just trying to make ends meet. So they're working very hard at trying to do that. Now, how I'm connecting this with parenting is that those kids that they have, they're trying to put food on the table and they're trying to keep the lights on and keep the water running. They're watching you and how you show up and what you're doing. You're building a legacy with your kids. They're going to remember how you treated them, how you taught them things. And it's one thing to teach them manners and teach them how to treat people, but when you're not intentionally doing it, you're just being an example to them. It's very impactful for your kids. I This has been a real challenge for me physically, like I said, but I've stepped up and I put into work and I work very hard when I'm there. I would tell you that some of the people I work with are half my age, some of them are a third of my age, and they did not have the same, they were not raised with the same work ethic that I was. And even though I'm the old man out there, I'm pushing right next to them and doing all the things I have to do, drenched in sweat. Uh, or if it's hot, if it's raining, we're out there getting wet and dripping, soaking wet, which tomorrow I have to work all day. And we're looking at a 100% chance of rain in Poway. The organization as a whole is pretty interesting. The way it runs, I used to work in the grocery business when I was a kid, and it doesn't run that much different except it's 10, 15, 20 times busier than I'd ever was when I was in the grocery business. So, and I haven't worked nights and weekends for 30 plus years, and I'm working until 10:30 at night sometimes. So it's changed my life schedule. I'm eating at different times. Um, and since I'm working out so much, it's like getting paid to work out. And it's pretty daunting, but like I said, I've lost probably about 35 pounds at this point in 2 months and still going to the gym as much as I can, two or three, four times a week, and lifting because I think that's just something I need to do. I've always been very ambitious, so I'm still building something like this podcast, like a speaking business. I'm still building that. And my kids are watching me. And I've got some real loving text from my kids knowing that I'm struggling and they're so kind and encouraging that anytime they do that, I don't want to get choked up here, but um, anytime they encourage me like that, it shows me that we did a good job with our kids because they do have compassion, empathy. They have all those things, and it's really special to me. Now, this is the biggest season of the year, right? So Christmas to me is always my favorite time of the year. This year, it's a struggle. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind it's a struggle. I'm probably feeling a little bit of depression, a little bit of failure because I don't have the resources that I generally have during this time of the year. But I know that my kids don't care about that stuff. They just want me healthy. They want me to be happy and find some peace and all those things. And I will. And I'm keep grinding and doing what I'm doing. So still at this age, my kids are they're almost all in their 30s. They're still watching how I respond to situations in life. Listen, no one's coming to save you in life, and you're going to have to continue to step up. I don't care how old you are or what you want to do in life, but if you're still dreaming and you still want to do something big in life, your kids are watching you. Okay, this is something from my grandkids, as little as they are, to my adult children. They're watching how I handle situations, and hopefully I'm doing the right thing. what did I told you it's daunting, man. It's tough, and I don't know how much longer I could keep up the physical part of it. Not that I probably couldn't keep it up, it's that I don't desire to keep it up, because it is very hard on my body. And I mean, I wake up in the morning, I can hardly move, but I'm still doing it. I have micro tears on my shoulders, I can feel them when I'm working out, but that's just what it is. I mean, I'm pushing very heavy carts uphill for 8 hours. It's not the hardest job in the world. There's other people out there digging ditches. The thing is it's consistent. So when you're at work, you're constantly working. There's no time to rest. There's no time to stop. We're running out of carts. We're pushing them from, God only knows where. If you know the Costco and Poway, it's a long way. It's 40, 50, 60, 70 yards sometimes. You're pushing these carts. And like I said, it's been a real awakening for me. It's also been the reason I don't want to do it. I don't want to work weekends and things like that. And then that's why I got out of that years ago, is because I could see the path it was going. You're working with people that are, I got to tell you, I'll tell you this one super positive thing about Costco. The people that I'm working with are the nicest people in the world. 99.9% of them are so nice and say hello every day. And you do have a name badge on, so they all know your name. And they're very friendly people. They're very hard workers. And it's been a really good experience from that point of view. The problem is, since I've done this already, it's kind of, I'm kind of over it. I'm not saying I'm too good to do it. It's just that I did it already, and I'm just doing it again for these holidays, just to make ends meet, just to get through. And I don't say that to gather sympathy. I say it because this is just life. I mean, life is a roller coaster. Sometimes you're high, sometimes you're low. And this is where we really need to teach our kids what to do. That's what I'm saying. You got to step up sometimes. It's not about being flawless, it's just about being present. You have to get involved in, like I said, in the community, and get involved with your kids, and get involved sometimes in life where you just got to struggle to get through it. And that's okay. You should embrace that struggle. You should use it for motivation, for inspiration, for discipline. And it's the reason I don't have to go to the gym right now. I'm working out hard enough. I got to tell you, I haven't worked out this hard in years, probably pre-COVID. And it's when I lost that weight before, when I was at my probably peak performance. So it's been a really good, positive thing from that perspective. But you work with the people that are just grinding it out, trying to make ends meet, especially during the holidays. They're working a lot of hours. They work a lot of late hours. You're constantly moving, like I said, at this job. And, but I find that a lot of the people that I work with don't have any ambition outside of work. Now, I don't talk to everybody about that, but a lot of the people I can see that have been there a long time, that are trying to move up in the company, it's not, you don't get rich working at Costco, but they have really good benefits. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of nice people that work there. They promote from within, which is nice. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel if that's something you desire to do. And I think as a whole, the company is a very, very good company. Um, what I did not realize until I started working there, was everything you find out there that's prepared, like pies and things like that. They actually have a bakery inside every Costco, or I think it's inside every Costco. They have butchers, they have people making all that food that's pre-made, that's ready to eat. It's not shipped in. Like the pies, for instance, they make all that. A lot of the cookies, they make all that stuff. And that's intense, man. That's like, being a baker is very hard work. It's not something I would want to do at Costco, or be a butcher, excuse me, be a butcher, because it's real work. I mean, and like I said, I know this isn't like the normal part of my podcast, but actually it really is. It really is kind of the core, because you don't intentionally just do something for your kids to watch you. This is something you develop. This is your character you're developing, and your kids are learning from you, and they're listening, and they're doing all these things. The results of what you're doing are going to be a lot more prevalent when they become adults. I listen to a lot of motivational speakers. I wouldn't say motivation. I don't like the word motivation, because motivation is very temporary. it's kind of an emotion that doesn't, it's nice to be motivated, but you can't be motivated 24 hours a day. But the word is discipline. You can have discipline. It's one of the reasons I go to the gym. And when I get back to my normal schedule, I'll go to the gym at 5 o'clock. It's a discipline thing. It's not some sadistic thing. I just want to put myself through pain. It's my time of the day to be just with myself, so I listen to these speakers quite often, and they talk a lot about what you do in silence is what comes out in your success. It's all those little things you do when no one's watching. It's all that kind of discipline you're doing. But your kids watch it. They can see it. They know that you get up that early in the morning, and they know you go to work and you work hard and you come home and you're dirty and sweaty and all those things. And they see that you're just out there for them, right? And I know you're doing it for yourself too, but in the whole scheme of things, you're really doing it for your family. And that's why it's so important to show up, right? I said this in my commercial that I did for this podcast that there's a cliche out there that says 90% of success is showing up. And it's really true. That's true. But the discipline is that's the big one. That's the going to work when you don't want to. I haven't called in sick. I haven't been late. I haven't, I've done my job every day I'm there. Am I 100% every day? I mean, there's times when my legs are just aching. My feet are killing me. My calves are killing me. Talk about burning your calves up for exercise. This pushing these carts is really something else. But but we do it for the love of our kids. We do it for the love of life. We do it for whatever. We don't know when our time is going to end. And we need to push through sometimes, like I said, just to get by. The people at Costco are wonderful. It's a good organization. I've talked about this before as a leader in business that I've been before in nonprofits and things like that. I tend to do this helicopter view when I go to a job where I'm kind of seeing what's affecting each other. And um, it's generally about sales, how, this department can affect sales and how they need to get together and things like that. And there's a lot of value to every employee, wherever you work, to your customers. And even the carts, as nominal as it sounds, as menial as that job kind of sounds, pushing carts, people expect that when they get to Costco that they'll have a basket to use and they go in and they're spending money and they're paying your wage. So we really try hard to help customers out in the parking lot. If an elderly person or a handicapped person needs help, we're on top of that. We help people a lot. We load trucks for people. We load cars for people that buy heavy items. But you've seen those people before. You may have been one of those that have purchased something at Costco that's very heavy, and there's these guys or girls out there are out there to help you load it in your car. We're not allowed to tie things down, but we help them load it. And I just said something, guys and girls. So we have a few girls that work on our cart crew that are just killing it. I mean, they work as hard as any one of the guys. I would say that in a lot of cases, the women that I'm working with, girls, I don't want to insult women or girls, but they're young, so they're like my kids' age or younger. They actually tend to have a better work ethic than some of the guys that I work with. I have not worked with a lazy girl yet, if that makes any sense. So speaking of that, moms and dads kind of thing, I wasn't speaking of it, but I'm going to. On my last podcast, I was talking about how I started this dad's club with another gentleman, and we tried to get them. We were trying to get dads present on campus to spend time with their kids, and not just the moms. We wanted the dads there too. And somebody sent me a message that said, basically, she said, I take exception to what you said about, women always show up and they don't get any accolades for it. Then a man shows up and everybody celebrates him. That's not what I was saying at all. And I don't think I said that, by the way, in the clip. All I was saying that I think dads are just as important as moms, and they have a different perspective. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is my perspective as a father of how my kids are looking at what I'm doing and what, I think what fathers think their responsibility is in that relationship. And that's all it's about. So I, nicely sent a message back to the gal and said, look, moms are the best, right? I miss my mom every day. She died in 1997. and she was the cornerstone of my upbringing. She was the one. My dad was not very present, and my mother was. And I said in the message back to her that I don't think the PTA would exist if it wasn't for moms. So I wasn't saying we should celebrate any parent that gets involved with their kids. Really, parent, mom, dad, I don't care, grandparents, if they're involved, we should celebrate that because, like I said, whether you believe it or not, your kids are watching you. They're watching how you talk to retail workers. They're watching how you talk to people on the phone, how you talk to your spouse. They're all taking that information in. And I can guarantee you, if you have somebody in a relationship that you may know of that's a friend or a friend of a friend, and they treat people poorly, it's probably because their parents treated people poorly. We were always taught to teach retail people, restaurants, personnel, waitresses, things like that, really respectfully because it's a hard job. And I'll tell you, when I'm out there pushing carts, it's not for the faint of heart. It is a tough friggin' job. And I don't think most people at 63 could do it. I was fortunate that I'd been working out for a long time. And I kind of take it as getting paid to work out at some level. And I'm very competitive, so I kind of competitive nature kicks in too. But I can tell you, like I said, and I'll revisit this, and I don't want to call out anybody, but the way other cultures treat us menial workers, and I think that's what they think of us, is really disgusting, to be honest with you. To be Ed Franklin and be really, really honest. They walk in front of you when you're pushing a rack of carts, which is very heavy, and it's very hard to start moving again after you have that momentum. They treat you disrespectfully, and not everybody. For the most part, like I said, 90% of the customers are sweet. They're wishing us happy holidays. They're thanking us. They try to tip me, which we're not allowed to take tips. And I got a tip from a guy yesterday, and he would not say no. So I went and turned it in, and we're sending it to Children's Hospital because that's the character of Costco. But there are some very rude people out there, and I feel bad for workers that have to put up with that shit because I think it's the worst thing you can do is treat somebody that's out there trying to grind for their family or just do whatever they have to do. It's really disgusts me that they have to treat people poorly. That's all I'll say about customers because I kind of forgot about how customers were when I grew up. We didn't have the culture was a lot different. And then I hadn't worked in a retail. I've worked with the public, but not in that high level of constant working with the public. And I've been treated poorly and been insulted, and I've given it right back to the customer, by the way. I don't do that here. I'm tempted. I mean, I know I'm not staying here, and sometimes I want to call out customers, but I won't. It's not my job to do that. So, but I can tell you that they have the patience of angels, some of these cashiers and some of the guys that push carts or the girls that push carts. We have to have a lot of patience and bite our tongue a lot of the times. Again, something you're showing your kids. When is it the right time to say something? When is it the right time not to? I can remember talking to my son one time, and he said to me something like, I want to be able to talk to people like you do. I said, well, understand this. I've been doing this a long time. I can kind of read people and know what I can get away with and what I can't. If I said the things that were on my mind all the time, I would never get a job again. I've had to step up and say things to people and they didn't take it the right way, or they did take it the right way, and I don't have that job anymore. And that's something you just have to live with. And but he's very. I talk to him a lot, and he's in a very high end business, and he's very tactful. He'll talk to me and kind of unload on me, which is fine. That's what I want him to do. I don't want him to do it to his customers or his manager or whoever. But and my daughter works in a situation. My oldest daughter works in a situation with where she has to be very tactful and very professional. And also, actually, all my kids are in jobs that they have to be uh, tactful and respectful. And I know we taught them how to do that. So, like I said, this podcast is everything about raising kids, even though it's kind of me talking to you about some of my challenges and what I'm going through, but it's all about stepping up and why consistency beats perfection, right? You got to be consistent. You got to show up for your work job. You got to show up, as a father, as a leader. You got to show up in your community. You got to do all those things. And this is the part of parenting, like I said, it's not very calculated. It's just what's going on. And probably, in my opinion, maybe the most impactful thing you can do for your kids is set a good example. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really so true. I've seen in this job and in other jobs I've been in where the parents are just off the chart rude, and that's not a cultural thing. That's just some people are rude. And I'm watching the kids watch. I'm almost embarrassed by how their parents are acting, which is kind of funny that they would be embarrassed by that. But I think they grow up to be like their parents a lot of times, and that's why. Um, and I don't think it's any, baby boomers or Gen Xers or anything. We know senior citizens like myself, we start to just get tired of being nice sometimes, and our filter goes away. But for the most part, like I said, people are very nice, but there's those few people that can ruin your day because they're rude, and you can't let that happen. And it's again another example to set for your kids. You just have to understand that maybe that person's having a really bad day. Maybe something happened. I've used this example before. I saw a video once where this guy walks into a coffee shop like a Starbucks, and there's this pair of sunglasses sitting on the table, and he puts them on. And through these sunglasses, he can see all the customers that are in the store. He can see their problems. Like there was a woman that looked really depressed and things, and she just got beat up the night before from her husband, and she had to come get coffee for him that day. And then there's another gentleman that's kind of depressed, and he just lost his wife a month ago. And we really need to see the good in people, I think, a lot of times, and teach our kids to do that too. There's always that aunt or uncle you have that's kind of mean, and then you find out from your parents kind of what their life was like, and it's or the time they grew up or the parents they had. My dad was like that. My dad had a really bad childhood, and it definitely manifested itself into his lack of fathering skills, I should say. So again, kids are watching, man, and you have to uh, you got to make sure you understand that it's not only good for your soul, it's good for theirs, and we got to teach them how to you know behave in those situations. So anyway, this is an incredible week, right? Christmas is in 2 days. No matter what you celebrate, I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. We have the new year coming up. I don't know if you set resolutions. Some people do, some people don't. I'm on a constant setting resolutions, constant goal setting phase all the time. I'm always doing something that I want to get to the next step, learn something that I don't know, things like that. We'll do another podcast next week, and it could be about manifestation or setting goals. We used to do that with our kids. They'd always have a New Year's resolution, or at Lent they would give up something for Lent. We've talked about that before. So listen, I know the holidays can be tough. They're really tough for me this year. This is maybe the worst year I've ever had in this situation. But by the same token, I'm so grateful for so many things. I'm grateful for you listening to my podcast. I'm grateful that I can do the podcast. I'm grateful that I can push carts as much as I don't want to push carts. I'm grateful that my body's in good enough shape to do that. I'm grateful for my family, obviously, my 20 grandchildren, my 8 kids. Um, there's so many things to be grateful for this time of the year, and that's where we really need to put our concentration at. Not the struggles. You should embrace the struggles and learn from them. And I think that we do a lot of things in our life because we hate where we're at and we want to change it. And this is a good reason to change. If you don't like where you're at, maybe it's time to make some changes in your life. Small changes, just little things. Maybe it's, the way you eat or you drink, or if you're not going to the gym or you're watching Netflix for 7 hours a day, maybe it's time to make some changes. I don't know. That's up to you, but we could talk about that next week. Um, And so we'll come up with a great podcast. But again, happy holidays to you. I hope everything's goes well. I hope that everybody's healthy and they have a good time. And there's a lot of smiling and a lot of love and a lot of people getting together. Remember, you can contact me at edfranklin.nolimits@gmail.com. Or you can contact me through my social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I'm all over the place. You can listen to this podcast. Please listen, like, and share. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, please just hit the subscribe button. All it's going to do is alert you when it's time for me that another podcast comes out. Keep listening. I appreciate it. I won't say Happy New Year yet. I'll say Happy Holidays because I don't know what you celebrate. And I hope that you have a wonderful time with your family and friends. And again, I'll see you next week. Keep listening, liking, and sharing, and have a fabulous holiday.